Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to talk about IDEANOMICS, trading under the ticker symbol IDEX on a Nasdaq. It's been a while, isn't it, since the last time we talked about it. So, IDEANOMICS has been one of the more interesting-ish and intriguing stock to follow on the market. And in this video, we're going to talk about why it was so popular, what happened since then, the current price action, and whether there is a future for IDEANOMICS in your portfolio at all. So before the video begins, if you like my channel, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Now, if you'd like to support me, please also check out my affiliate links in the description below. Now, a reading that I would really recommend for many people, or everyone for that matter, on Amazon is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, one of the original backers of Palantir and PayPal, and one of the most influential startup investors of our time. If you make a purchase using any of those links, I will be paid a commission with no additional cost for you. Now, with all that being said, let's get on with today's topic. Of course, IDEANOMICS has been one of the more bizarre stocks to cover on my channel over the years. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly why people are interested by this out of any other stocks, other than the fact that maybe IDEANOMICS is a stock that knows how to manipulate public interest in the EV sector when the market was trending up. And actually not just trending up, but absolutely skyrocketing up. And as a result, many people decided to jump in any sort of exposure to benefit from the sector-wide upward momentum and volatility. I hope that no one actually took the stock seriously back then, because frankly, it would be a bit bizarre if we think that electric bikes are going to take over the world, or this is going to somehow become a super relevant investment. Now, to say the least, I was dubious at the time, but the optimism in the air, based on the comments that I got, back then, to say the very least, it was fiendish, right? It's you're almost in like a little sect. A lot of people believe that this is gonna save them, like with no sarcasm here. They actually think that. So, of course, we believe that the stock is going to have, we hope to think that that IDEANOMICS is going to have a massive growth opportunity and potential in the short term. And that collective belief, in my opinion, was the main reason why, at the time, it was worth it to jump into IDEANOMICS headfirst. Now, nowadays, things are a bit different. The bubble has long since bursted, and people have priced in the fact that the party seems to be over. Not only for EV, not only for alternative transportations, but also and especially for IDEANOMICS, the stock that is, for the time being, still priced on the Nasdaq. Is that a miracle? It's possible, right? None of those who wish to make money with it have done so. And I want to say those who also want to make money but who didn't cannot make any sort of money anymore in the foreseeable period of time. They are just left picking up the pieces. As of now, IDEANOMICS is trading at around 5 cents, and since then has been trending around that price level over the past week, with no significant volatility in sight. And if there's any, in fact, we can see this in the yearly trend. IDEANOMICS has been having a significant sell-off from above 80 cents to just below 5. Let me repeat this. It went from 80 cents to below 5 cents. This means that the retail traders have clearly abandoned any sort of hope that IDEANOMICS will be able to be relevant. So, as far as the sell-off is concerned, I don't think that it really stopped. like we haven't really seen the bottom just yet. It's not because the 5 cents level hasn't really been pierced through that we can say with certainty that it's not going to happen next, right? I believe that Ideanomics doesn't have the fundamental relevance in the way that it's currently structured and operating. And that if it manages to stay on the NASDAQ, it would be because they can reverse stock split. That's it. Maybe 1 for 30, 1 for 25, something like that. I think it's more going to be 1 for 30 so that they can afford to even lose a little bit after the reverse. And it's painful to say, but things don't look pretty for Ideanomics for the time being. And things may not look pretty for Ideanomics for a foreseeable future. Now, when we look at the website looks like something that was made back from 2020. Yes, the good old days of 2020, when we didn't know what high interest rates, hyperinflations, potential recessions, quantitative tightening, and wars really meant. Okay? It was an era when Tesla was really going to take over the world, followed by NIO, followed by Lucid, or vice versa. What else? Like Hyliion, a stock that I just covered the other day, was trading around $50. Right? So that was the good old days. Can we go back to these days? I mean, maybe. Who knows? Who can say with certainty what's going to happen 5 to 8 years from now, right? But for the time being, I don't think that this is going to happen. And their website doesn't really seem to focus on that. I mean, of course, I can understand, right? Nobody wants to say stuff that doesn't really play in their advantage unless they really, really, really have to. Now, when you look at their news announcements, it kind of reminds me of Molen. You know what I mean? Like, they got secured of this kind of partnership. They got secured with that kind of partnership. They have this new business. They have that new business. And meanwhile, the share price just keeps falling. And in a way, I would say that it's not really the fault of Ideanomics either. This is a company that over time has been able to reinvent themselves. I have always viewed Ideanomics as a holding company, right? So they hold a whole bunch of stuff. These days I think they hold fintech plus peripheral EV manufacturers. That's what they have. And they wanted to make money by selling stock. In other words, we are the product that they're trying to farm. Right? I think that the purpose of Ideanomics over the past 2 or 3 years has been to sell stock, has been to sell their own shares. And as long as there are people willing to buy it, then things would be fine. Did they really say that in their reports? Of course not. I think that, at least subconsciously, that has to be one of their intentions. With that being said, I mean, I spent all this time to talk about, let's call it like the downside of Ideanomics. I didn't really hide these away because I think that one, it's too obvious, and two, you guys are way too smart to not see this, okay? Now, does Ideanomics have a future ahead of us? So, I think that yes, Ideanomics may have a future ahead of us with the assumption that it's going to continue its operations. In other words, it's not going to go bankrupt. it's not going to go through any sort of significant reorganization that's going to wipe out the equity. They might dilute, they might stock split or reverse stock split or whatever. But the fundamental structure, if it remains like this, and it can hold on to the challenges of time, which is, by the way, no small feat, because the recession is looming and we don't know what's going to happen for sure. But if, let's say, Ideanomics manages to stay afloat, I don't know how they're going to do that, but if they do, I think that we might be due for another round of very significant upward momentum. And that's just because Ideanomics is that kind of company. It's the kind of company who holds interesting stocks. Like, they themselves is just an empty shell with money, but they stuff themselves with what the market wants to see. And then hopefully 5 to 10 years from now, they're going to own another bunch of interesting stuff that the market wants to have some exposure in. Maybe not in those companies, but in the sector. You know, I'm just making it up. What if 5 to 10 years from now, it's going to be AR and VR, right? It's going to be an actual metaverse. Can Ideanomics buy a bunch of startups that are in this kind of area and then become a popular stock? It's possible. I mean, I'll see if I should cover fuel cell coming up next, but you know, there are quite a few stocks that were popular just because a keyword became popular or a sector became popular. So in that sense, it really wouldn't surprise me if 5 to 8 years from now it goes from like 5 cents up to like $1.50. You know, it's possible. But for that, we really have to assume, to take for granted that this stock is gonna, how can I put this? This stock is gonna continue to exist without any sort of significant change. And this is a very significant risk. And this is why I would say that my overall recommendation for Ideanomics is that yes, I personally recommend to buy some IDEX shares. However, it has to be with money that if it just goes out with the wind, it won't matter to you, right? It's a bit like you've lost a match of MOBA games, right? It sucks a little bit, but in the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, it has to be that kind of mentality. What the exposure might be, well, I don't know. It could be 0.5%, could be 0.1%. Of course, it could be 1%. But it has to be an exposure that you wouldn't mind to have, and that you wouldn't mind to lose, and that you wouldn't mind to wait as well. If you have this kind of capital just laying around, then I would say that Ideanomics isn't a bad choice. Now, you really have to take for granted, and without too much fundamental support for this assertion, that Ideanomics is going to continue to exist. It's going to be hard, but if you think that this is going to be what'll happen, then be my guest. Go for it.